What a headshot! What a head!
How's it guys, this is Dayvy, FPL, and welcome back to the Fantasy Premier League video here on my channel. Now in this video, I'll be taking you guys through my very own transfer plan for the upcoming double/blank game week 25. So yes, a double and a blank game week. So nice little combo game week for us, and how are we going to actually approach that with our transfer plan? Well, don't worry, in this video I'll be going through all my kind of selections. There's actually a few transfers I might be considering, a -4 hit, a -8 hit, could be on the cards. But before that, I'm going to take a look at how the squad got on in game week 24. Now, just a reminder that there is Champions League football as well as kind of Europa League football and Conference League football, so just keep your guys' eyes on that before you lock in those transfers. But not only is a super exciting game week on the cards, we also have a super exciting part of the season ahead of us with all the doubles and the blanks coming up. So get hyped for this Premier League season because from now till game week 38, it's time to clutch up. But getting back to this video, sit back, relax, and let's get straight into it. So as always in these transfer plans, I'm going to take a look at the game week that has just concluded, game week 24, a single game week, but at least it was going to be a good game week for us. As you guys can see, 61 points total, a nice little green arrow of about 50k places, and we're currently just below the top 200k mark. So I mentioned this over my Twitter page, but a very kind of yo-yo season. Last game week we had 250k, the game week before that 200k, the game week before that 250k again, so we've been kind of going up and down, and I just really hope that game week 25 is going to be where we get 2 greens in a row. Now let me know how you guys did in game week 24. Was it a good game week? Was it a bad game week? Who was your clutch player of the game week? For me, it is probably going to be Bruno Fernandes, as a lot of managers actually sold him for Kevin De Bruyne. But you guys let me know how your team set up and how it did in game week 24. Now lastly, in terms of the transfer plan, 2 free transfers. We actually banked a transfer going into the last game week and 1 million left in the bank. Now starting off on our bench, and Nathan Ake will actually be coming off the bench, and I'll explain why a little bit later on, but he got 1 point, came off late into that fixture. A little bit of a weird one because City were drawing to Nottingham Forest, and Ake was actually subbed on for an attacking option. But I guess I'll take that at the end of the day. 1 point is going to be gained for us. Was a little bit disappointing that he didn't start, but at least Man City lost their clean sheet. We then have Greenwood for Leeds, who as usual came off the bench, and then Nathan Patterson, who played for the under-21s, but he might have actually got injured in that fixture. Now the final bench option to talk about is going to be Danny Ward, so let's talk about Kepa as well. So both my 2 goalkeepers ended on 2 points, quite disappointing with Kepa's performance overall, as Chelsea seemed super lackluster. So another 10-point haul wasn't meant to be, and it seems like Chelsea might have regressed back to the defensive frailties. But now going on to the rest of our defensive department, going to start off with Ben White. Started him over Nathan Ake because I was expecting him to play. Did he start? Yes. Did he concede? Yes. Actually 2 goals in that fixture against the Aston Villa side that have been pretty good from an attacking point of view. But at least there wasn't kind of too much difference between Nathan Ake and Ben White if we didn't get Ake off the bench. But Arsenal ended up winning that fixture, and Ben White was getting quite forward and might have been a little bit unlucky not to get an attacking return. But I guess most people own these Arsenal assets, and at least he did match Gabriel. We then have Luke Shaw, the player I benched last week, luckily not this week, only the clean sheet points though, and was knocked off from the 1 bonus point late into that fixture. So it could have been a 7-point appearance, but I guess we'll take a clean sheet against the lesser side that have been attacking pretty well. Then finally we have Kieran Trippier. There was a lot of a dilemma about actually benching him. Was his Liverpool side going to pitch up? Well, yes they did, scored 2 goals, and then obviously Nick Pope got sent off, but Kieran Trippier was still heavily involved in all those set pieces. But when you guys do see my defensive department, I guess the dilemmas weren't that strong, as 3 out of the 4 defenders got 1 point. I think the only defensive department that would have been better was going to be this Everton defender, so if you guys did bring in Tarkowski and start him, congrats on that one. But now going to midfield department, and the player that was actually not going to feature in the Nottingham Forest game at all was going to be Riyad Mahrez, which was super surprising to me. I mentioned that Ake was subbed on late into that fixture when Man City were drawing to Nottingham Forest. So yes, Pep actually chose to sub on Ake over Mahrez, probably the most informed player at the moment when they were drawing to Nottingham Forest. So if you guys can explain that to me, comment it down below because I honestly don't get it. But maybe Mahrez was struggling with an injury or something like that. So that's the reason that Nathan Ake was going to come off our bench. I just wanted to show you guys the team selection as of the deadline. And I was pretty disappointed that Mahrez didn't even get off the bench. But luckily though, the other assets, such as a Kevin De Bruyne and a Haaland, also ended up blanking. The main competition, obviously Kevin De Bruyne for that transfer. So it's not that bad at the end of the day, but I would have loved to have seen what would have happened if Mahrez started that fixture. Maybe Man City would have ended up winning. Now going on to the first double up of our midfield department is going to be the Arsenal double up of Odegaard and Saka. Now interestingly enough, Saka actually scored the goal, Odegaard got the assist, but Odegaard ended up getting all 3 bonus points. So Saka continues to be a good transfer in. I know that Martelli, the player that we actually transferred out, ended up scoring, but if you guys do take into account last game week, that transfer is still in the net gains. Then with Odegaard, luckily he ended up on 8 points. As to start off the fixture, he didn't look too great. But pretty happy with how this performance went, but I guess with all the 4 goals that Arsenal scored, would have liked to have more than 1 attacking return from either of them. Now next up, probably our saviours of the game week, especially if you guys did captain Rashford. It's going to be the United double up in our midfield department of Rashford and also Fernandes. So if you guys did captain Rashford, a massive points gained there in terms of the Game Week 23. Super differential captain, and considering the fact that Haaland ended up blanking, a 15 point is absolutely massive. But for my own team, Fernandes 12 points is going to be massive as well because, as I mentioned, quite differential. Most managers transferred him out kind of last week for Kevin De Bruyne, but I stuck with my guns and he ended up returning. Now it will be sad to lose Bruno Fernandes, but I kind of have to with my transfer plan. A little bit of a spoiler alert for you guys in that one. But finally, going over our forward department, we have Erling Haaland, as I mentioned, ended up blanking, 2 points doubled to 4. But if you guys did see the chances he had in that fixture, can't really explain why he ended up blanking. So I guess it was one of those fixtures, but I think even if he scored that easy tap-in kind of goal, Rashford still would have outperformed him. 2 captainers would have still been good. I guess the only saving grace with Haaland is that everyone kind of captains him, so even if he blanks, it doesn't hurt you too much. Now, final forward to go over, I really didn't need him to get us a return. It's going to be Harry Kane. An assist is okay, would have liked it to be a little bit more, as I honestly thought that Spurs might have done better than West Ham. Now, you guys could bring up the penalty shot. I did believe it was actually going to be a handball. Don't you know why they kind of ruled it out? But I guess that could have been a Harry Kane penalty at the end of the day. But still, probably a little bit of a goodbye present from Harry Kane, that 5-pointer, because if you didn't get anything more, it might have been a little bit hard to say goodbye to him. But as you guys can see, 61 points total. The team actually ended up performing pretty well. 50k green arrow to just below the top 200k mark. Let me know how you guys got on in Game Week 24 in the comments down below. Now, before we get on to the actual team selection and the transfer plan going into the upcoming Game Week, I want to give you guys a reminder about what Game Week 25 has in store for us. So let's talk about the good side before the bad side. Let's go over the double Game Week 25 fixtures, and we do have 4 teams doubling. So the first fixture that was moved to Game Week 25 was going to be the Wolves vs Liverpool game. That obviously gives a double Game Week for both those two sides. Liverpool have Crystal Palace away and Wolves at home, whereas the Wolves have Fulham away and Liverpool away, and those fixtures are pretty good on paper. Now, Liverpool's defensive form continues to be pretty bad, even though they kept a clean sheet against Newcastle, but definitely think they're going to be the side that I target on my transfer plan. The next up is going to be the Arsenal vs Everton game, was also moved to double Game Week 25. That's going to have a double for Arsenal of Leicester away and Everton at home. Then finally Everton of Aston Villa at home and Arsenal away, so you're definitely targeting that first fixture for Everton. So if you guys don't know the doubles, here they are. You guys can plan your transfers around them. Honestly, that you guys can go for any of these teams, but I would prioritize the Arsenal assets. The reason behind that is that obviously Arsenal and Everton are going to be playing in blank Game Week 28, whereas Liverpool and Wolves, only one of them will feature. But I'll talk about that a little bit later on in the Ultimate Guide coming up tomorrow, or also on Wednesday. But as I always say, with every good, we do have the bad. Let's go over the bad side of Game Week 25, the blank side of it, and there's going to be 4 teams that blank. So this blank is due to the fact that the League Cup final of United vs Newcastle is going to be taking place this weekend, so their 2 fixtures have been postponed. So the United fixture was going to be against Brentford, so that game has been postponed. And then finally the Newcastle one was against Brighton, so all 4 of these teams are going to be blanking. Now this obviously puts a big span in the works. A lot of us own those United assets. I own a triple up right now. The Newcastle assets, all of us own Trippier. So you guys will definitely have a blank game week option in your team. So just be aware of this as you guys do progress through your transfer plan. And just a little bit of a reminder about what Game Week 25 has in store for us. Now before we get on to the transfer plan, I want to give you guys the context of my team, and I think that you guys should do this yourselves. Go over to your kind of transfer page, but first I would go to the team selection page and just see what you guys are dealing with in terms of options. So this is going to be integral to our planning of our transfer plan for the upcoming blank Game Week 25, as well as getting in those double Game Week players. So let's start off on our bench, and you guys will see that I'm actually benching a Game Week player. It's going to be Greenwood, but I simply don't trust him to start. Other than that, we have Rashford and Trippier on my bench because I want to keep these 2 assets as the form and the fixtures look pretty strong after even Game Week 25. Now with Greenwood, there is a little bit of a debate to actually start him over one of my blank Game Week options, or maybe save a transfer and rather play him because he's probably guaranteed to get me 1 point, and whoever I bring in has to get more than 5 points to justify that transfer. But I'll explain that a little bit later on. Let's go over our goalkeeper debate, and luckily enough, both our goalkeepers actually have fixtures. But unfortunately, both their fixtures are simply terrible. We have Kepa against Spurs away and Danny Ward against Arsenal at home. So you guys can pick your poison here. I think both sides are going to be losing their clean sheet. But I simply own more Arsenal attackers than Spurs ones, and that's why I'm going to be playing Kepa. Now, will I even own a Spurs attacker by the end of this transfer plan? Maybe, maybe not. Stick around for that. So let's go on to our defensive department, and the 3 players that I think will be playing at least some minutes in terms of Game Week 25 are going to be Ben White, Nathan Ake, and Patterson. So let's start off with Patterson because he's the biggest kind of caveat. Just playing in the under 21s might not even feature for them, but I think he might get us some points as a sub, and he might even start 1 fixture. Now, am I confident about that? Probably not. I think if he did get injured in that under 21 game, the chance of him starting both games is pretty much unlikely, and therefore it might even be worth the -4 to replace him. Then in terms of Nathan Ake, also a bit of speculation. Will he even play? We've seen some massive defensive rotation under Pep Guardiola, so he's not even guaranteed to start. But I think against Bournemouth away, I have to start him anyways, and just hope that he plays 60 minutes. But the one option I'm pretty secure about is going to be Ben White, Leicester away, Everton at home. I think he should start both these two games. But if I don't think so, he might even be worth the -4 out to replace him with a more secure defender. But right now, I think that Ben White should be the first choice after Tomiyasu's bad performance against City. Now, completing our kind of back four is going to be Luke Shaw, obviously has the blank game week, but I am looking to replace him in my transfer plan. So as you guys can see, kind of 2 defenders out of the 4, maybe even one that I'm confident of getting me points, as Nathan Ake might not even start. But now let's go on to our midfield department, and we yet again have 3 options that I am confident of getting me points. I've got Bukayo Saka, Odegaard, and finally Mahrez. Now with Mahrez kind of getting the rest against Nottingham Forest, I do expect him to play against Bournemouth. I know Pep doesn't work like that. Just because you rested or benched doesn't mean that you're going to start the next game, but I do believe that he should be fine after the Champions League. But shout out to the Champions League and the Europa League, please watch out for that in terms of injuries, and just make sure that you guys players get out uninjured. But in terms of Saka and Odegaard, you guys will see that I've got the captaincy on Saka right now, best option in my team currently for captaincy, and I probably will stick him going into the deadline. Now they have Leicester away and Everton at home, great kind of attacking fixtures in my opinion, and that's I'm really comfortable captaining Saka. Then in terms of our kind of blank gaming player, Bruno Fernandes, but like Luke Shaw, I'm looking to transfer him out. Now finally going to our forward department, we have got 2 strikers up front, Erling Haaland and Harry Kane, both with fixtures. The Bournemouth away game is definitely the better one, as Harry Kane has Chelsea at home. But as you guys can see, in terms of my overall team, currently I've got 2 confirmed blank game week options. That's going to take me to 9 players, and with Nathan Patterson, I think it takes me to 8. So that would obviously require 3 transfers for a minus for it, but let me show you guys why I might be taking a -8. So now going on to the transfer plan for the upcoming game week, and the first thing I want to remind you guys about yet again is going to be the Champions League and the Europa League football. And the reason I'm saying that is on my Discord server, a lot of people have been asking me, is Liverpool players are looking like they're going to be rising in price, should you guys make the moves early? So my recommendation would be no, just hold the transfer for as long as possible. The only reason I would do it is that if you can't afford any other variations of your transfer plan, then I might move early. But I think that Real Madrid game is going to be super integral. We're going to see if Darwin Núñez is out injured for a long amount of time. We're going to see the kind of minutes rotation of how they're setting up and also the end score at the end of the day. So right now, delay your transfers for as long as possible because I do think it's going to be worth it. But now going on to my transfer plan for the upcoming game week, and as you guys know, I've got 2 free transfers and 1.0 million in the bank. Now I mentioned that I want to take out Luke Shaw and Bruno Fernandes, so let's start off with those 2 options. Let's start off with Bruno Fernandes in the midfield department. You guys will see that there's a blank game week, then he travels to Liverpool away and Southampton at home, so on paper the fixtures after blank game week 25 aren't actually that bad. But the thing about Bruno Fernandes is come game week 28, things are in a blank again as the FA Cup does progress. So what you guys are kind of getting at, in the next 4 fixtures, only 2 games. Now if I was to kind of use my 2 free transfers only, and let's just say I want to be super conservative, I don't think that Mo Salah is going to get me many points. The one transfer I could do from a conservative point of view is to bring in Gakpo from Liverpool. So I know it's not Mo Salah, but Gakpo has been scoring recently, and it seems like Mo Salah has been more of an assister and Gakpo more of a finisher. So next up we have Crystal Palace and Wolves in the double game week, United at home and then Bournemouth away, and then they might even play in game week 28 depending on that Leeds vs Fulham game. So as mentioned earlier on, this is kind of the conservative approach. If I don't want to take a hit from -4 or -8, I can simply replace my blank game week options of Bruno Fernandes and Luke Shaw. So let me know what you guys think about Gakpo down below. We're discussing him on my Discord server that he looks like he's playing a more attacking role than a Mo Salah, but he is not as nailed. So if I was to take a minus for it, I think this is more likely as I want to bring in Mo Salah. As you guys would have seen on the weekend against Newcastle, Klopp made 4 subs at once and left Mo Salah on the field to play a full 90. So I do think that Mo Salah is the best option from Liverpool to bring in at the moment. As long as Darwin is fit and ready, I think that Gakpo might have his minutes managed. So I do think that Bruno Fernandes to Mo Salah is the more reasonable option to go for, but this will require me to take a hit in my transfers. So now that we've spoken on Bruno Fernandes, let's talk about Luke Shaw, and for me there's one option that I want to replace Luke Shaw with, and that's going to be Trent Alexander-Arnold. So I know what you guys are thinking, every kind of ultimate guide we go over the stats, we look at XG conceded, Liverpool are there in terms of the last 6, in terms of the overall season, but I just feel like this might be a changing point in the Liverpool season. So Trent on the weekend got an assist and a clean sheet, and I just think with these double game weeks coming up, he might be worth the punt. So Luke Shaw to Trent could be a massive upgrade for me, but obviously it does cost a lot more, and therefore I need to finance this move. Now if you guys want to go for a cheap alternative, I think that Tarkowski from Everton's a perfectly fine option. At his cheap price point, that will give you some more money to be more flexible. But I just think if you guys have the money to go for, I'd go for Trent. You could go for Robertson, Van Dijk, but I just believe Trent is the main option in that defense. Now I've mentioned the kind of Bruno Fernandes to Salah move, that's an upgrade. I mentioned the Luke Shaw to Trent move, that's an upgrade. Where am I getting all these funds? Well, the player that I'm using as a cash cow is unfortunately going to be Harry Kane. But just remember that I can always just go for Gakpo and Trent instead of Salah, and then I can also keep Harry Kane. So let me know what you guys think about that. Would you guys keep Harry Kane for the upcoming game weeks, or do you think Mo Salah is a requirement even if I don't captain him? But if I do want to go for Mo Salah, I have to downgrade Harry Kane, and the option I'm currently looking at is going to be Ollie Watkins. Now what I will say to you guys is that I could actually take a punt for this transfer, and the reason being for that is I won Ivan Toney come Game Week 27's double, and he has Fulham in Game Week 26, so what I could do is take a 1 week punt, go for maybe someone like a Wolves striker, and then bring Ivan Toney in Game Week 26. But if I was to play a more of a long-term pick, I would go for Ollie Watkins because he does play in blank Game Week 25 and also blank Game Week 28. But no double game week unfortunately, that's why it might be worth taking a 1 week punt because I'm going to go for Ivan Toney anyways in Game Week 27. But let's say that I do go for Ollie Watkins at the current moment. There are some other options to go for, but I do really like the Aston Villa man who's been on great form recently. Now yes, I obviously would have liked to have gone for a Darwin, a Jota, but I simply can't afford them. So I think it comes down to, do I want Ollie Watkins and Trent or go for Tarkowski and Darwin Núñez? I think Trent right now because he's more nailed for kind of 90 minutes, whereas Darwin or a Jota get their minutes managed. So those opening 3 transfers would be obviously for a minus for it unless I do go for a Gakpo and a Trent, and that'll be for free. But I spoke about earlier on the potential for a -8 transfer after this, so if I do want to go for a 4th transfer, I could use it to upgrade Patterson. So I'm saying upgrade, but I guess this might be slightly sideways. It's going to be Patterson to Tarkowski. So yes, sideways, but I do consider it to be an upgrade. I think the centre back will play the majority of minutes over this upcoming double, whereas unfortunately Patterson's competition, Coleman, ended up scoring on the weekend. But would this be worth a -4? I don't exactly know. I mean, Aston Villa at home, Arsenal away, those are tough games defensively, but I mean, Sean Dyche is quite a defensive manager. But I will be crunching the numbers, crunching the projected points, because if I think this is worth a -4 and we get to kind of negative news on Patterson's injury, then I probably will do this for an additional hit. But let's go over my transfer plan for kind of a conclusion, because I know I went through this quite quickly, quite confusing. If I do want to go for 2 free transfers, I'll bring in Gakpo and Trent for Bruno Fernandes and Luke Shaw. And then obviously you can do a -4 as well, take Patterson to Tarkowski if I want to, but that's the kind of Gakpo plan. But if I want to bring in Mo Salah, I would have to downgrade Harry Kane to get me the funds, and the downgrade currently looks like it's going to be Ollie Watkins or a 1 week punt, maybe even a Wolves striker. Then on top of that -4, I could go for a -8 of this move that you guys see on screen right now, but that will increase our double game week capital. But you guys let me know what you guys are doing in the comments down below. Maybe your transfer plan will help me as well. Otherwise, just give your thoughts on what transfers I should make. But that's basically wrap the video, guys. Hope you did enjoy it. Please don't like if you didn't subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet. I'll be seeing you guys for tons of content coming up about the upcoming double/blank game week 25, including the team selection coming up on Thursday. But I'm excited with Dayvy FPL, and I'm out. Cheers, bye.